The addiction is real. I am telling you, the addiction is real. We have all kinds of resources in this country for people who are struggling with addiction. The business of rehabilitation, that is big business. Now, sure, there are state-run facilities that are offered for cheap or in some cases offered for free, but it takes so long to get into them, you are more likely to be incarcerated in a cell or a wooden box before you get accepted into one. Private rehab facilities are very expensive. Families pay tens of thousands of dollars for just a 30% chance of their loved ones actually staying sober. The success rate of rehab programs are glaringly low, but we have programs offered for alcohol. We have programs for street drugs. We have programs for pharmaceuticals, which, in my opinion, the pharmaceuticals, those are the most dangerous and the most difficult to get off of. We have programs offered for mental health. We have counseling for couples struggling in their relationships. We have all these programs, but for some reason, doctors and psychiatrists, they have yet to develop a program for people who are addicted to attention. Attention addiction is often overlooked, but I think it's very real. Those who suffer through this addiction, they will do anything to get their fix. Case in point, Jimmy the Kimmel. Hi, I'm Jimmy. I'm addicted to the attention of lonely men. It's been a rough summer for Jimmy the Kimmel. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but over the last 4 months, there's been a writer's strike going on in Hollywood. Most normal people, we could not give a fuck less about it. Something like UPS goes on strike, that affects normal people. My mother would be distraught if UPS drivers went on strike. Instead of receiving her daily dose of trinkets and garbage that she orders online and gets shit through UPS, poor mom would have to wait weeks for the post office to deliver it. Farmers go on strike, we're all in deep shit. But when Hollywood writers go on strike, who cares? Many shows and movies produced in Hollywood, it's nothing but woke garbage. The only people affected by this strike are the shitfucks who consume this garbage, which they are currently getting their fix for trash met by the dump divers in the WNBA. Now, the other group affected by this ongoing strike are the attention seekers like Jimmy the Kimmel. Like I said, poor Jimmy has had a rough summer. It has been months since his name has been mentioned in the mainstream media. Jimmy is used to generating media headlines with his pathetic attempts at comedy, which often consist of recycled jokes about Donald Trump. Orange Man bad. Of course, Jim, he doesn't write these jokes himself. He has a group of non-binary Hollywood writers who copy the prepubescent style of Megan Rapinoe, writing these god-awful jokes for him. The only skill the Kimmel possesses is the ability to read. With the writer's strike going on 4 months now, with no end in sight, Jimmy the Kimmel came up with a master plan to cure his attention withdrawals. He scrolled through his Rolodex of huge embarrassing failures. The thinking was, let's put together a podcast of huge embarrassing failures in late night television. Let's all come together on this podcast and try to get nominated for the upcoming Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards. Jimmy the Kimmel, he titled this podcast Strike Force 5. I see what you did there, Jim. Strike Force 5. You're trying to capture the attention of the Star Trek virgin Mike Freeman. You know the combination of strike and force will encourage the virgin to write a glowing article for you in USA Today. May the force be with you. Episode 1 dropped on Wednesday. It was titled 5 Late Night Hosts Talk at the Same Time for the First Time. How creative. That title absolutely sucks. Now you might be wondering, who did Jimmy the Kimmel contact to join this late night circle jerk? Well, you've got Stephen Colbert, vomit. You have Jimmy the Fallon, vomit. Seth Meyers. Who? Who in the hell is Seth Meyers? That sounds like the name of my financial advisor or my accountant. The show also, or the podcast I should say, also features John Oliver. Which, wait a minute. I thought Jimmy the Kimmel was dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm struggling to see the diversity on this panel. I see 4 painfully boring white guys who wouldn't have a funny bone if you hit them in the knee with a sledgehammer. And then you have John Oliver. Now, even though John Oliver often spanks the woke wanker, I gotta admit, John Oliver is a funny dude, but the rest of these guys, They are absolutely atrocious. I could only tolerate a few minutes of this garbage, but it didn't take very long for the attention seeking behavior of Jimmy the Kimmel to surface. Jim started the episode by revealing a startling revelation. This was scary, it was a breathtaking moment. Jim Kimmel announced to the audience that he was contemplating retirement. Retirement? I don't know about you guys, but I would be absolutely thrilled if Jim Kimmel retired. Maybe ABC would finally give someone the opportunity to host this dump that could actually make me laugh. Seth Meyers, CPA, he was absolutely devastated when he heard this announcement. Jim, let me place my soft hand on your cucumber. You can't retire, man. You're like the Tom Brady of late night television. Excuse me? Come again? Did you just compare Tom Brady, the GOAT, to Jimmy Kimmel, the ass? Correct me if I'm wrong here, and I know I'm not because I have been watching the NFL for 30 years and followed the entire career of Tom Brady. Tom Brady has won the Super Bowl 7 times, right? He's a 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 3-time NFL MVP, 15-time Pro Bowler. Dude, Tom Brady has spent more time in the Super Bowl than most players have in the NFL throughout their careers. Average NFL career about 3 seasons. Tom Brady, 7 years in the Super Bowl. His list of accolades goes for miles. And then you've got Jimmy the Kimmel. Has this dude ever won anything? Jim Kimmel doesn't make the top 15 in ratings at his own network. Of the big 3 networks in late night, NBC, CBS, ABC, Jim Kimmel often ranks dead last. He ranks outside the top 50 on television. Jimmy the Kimmel gets beaten in the ratings by something called Will Trent. Will Trent beat Jim Kimmel in the ratings? The answer is always yes. So someone please explain to me how Jimmy Kimmel is the Tom Brady of late night television. Has this genre really fallen this far? How in the hell did we go from Carson to Leno and Letterman, Conan? Hell, I'll even throw in George Lopez. At least he had some good jokes every once in a while. How did we go from these legends along with George Lopez to Jimmy the Kimmel and some geek named Seth Meyers? Now, obviously, Jim Kimmel is not retiring. Hell, he's not even threatening to retire. He just signed an extension with ABC this time last year. This was nothing but a publicity stunt. This was a desperate cry for attention. And for some reason, the mainstream media, they gave Jim Kimmel exactly what he wanted by biting into the shit sandwich. If I'm an executive at ABC, I want Jimmy Kimmel to retire. Please, please, just get the hell out of here. The truth is, late night television, it is no longer the cash cow for networks that it's been throughout my lifetime. 5 years ago, advertisers spent almost $700 million to advertise their brands on late night TV. Last year, that number fell to $412 million, a decline of 41%. Why is ad revenue declining? Because ratings are declining. 10 years ago, Jay Leno was averaging almost 4 million viewers on NBC. His audience in the 18 to 49 demo, it was equal to Jim Kimmel's overall audience today. Back in 2013, Jimmy the Kimmel, he was averaging 855,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 demo. Now, this was before he became a consumer of the woke wiener while spending his vacations playing the butt bongo with Howie Stern. Fast forward 10 years later, Jim Kimmel, he is averaging around 200,000 in the 18 to 49 demo, a decline of a shitload of viewers. Now I want you to think about something. Late night shows, they have been on hiatus since the writer's strike began. I think it was in the middle of May. Now be honest with me here. Have you even thought about it once? Over the last 4 months, how many times have you missed late night television? How many times have you wished that Stephen Colbert was airing a new episode? How many times have you missed Jim Fallon apologizing for his white privilege? If I had to guess, the vast majority of you guys, you haven't thought about late night television until you watch this video. And that is exactly why Jim Kimmel made this fake announcement about his pretend retirement. These guys know they are becoming irrelevant. Hell, they were becoming irrelevant while they were on the air. They have been off the air for 4 months now, and no one is begging for them to come back. Jimmy Kimmel signed an extension with ABC last fall that carries him through 2024, which is very interesting when you think about it. There is someone else collecting woke welfare from the non-binary mouse at Disney whose contract also expires at the end of next year. Stephen A. Smith. Just so happens that Stephen A., he wants to be a late-night host. ABC is paying Jim Kimmel $15 million a year to not draw an audience. Not to mention the fact that Jimmy Kimmel, he presents another problem for ABC. Lack of diversity. By replacing him with Stephen A. Smith, executives, they could squash 2 lemons with 1 wiener. Stephen A. would be significantly cheaper than Jim Kimmel, and he also checks the woke box. Actually, I think Stephen A. Smith would be a first. I think he would be the first black host in late night television. Now, that does not mean Stephen A. Smith would come cheap. I mean, he wouldn't be cheaper than some unknown host like Chelsea the Coat Handler, who is so desperate to return to late night TV that she would host the show for free. All you'd have to give her is a coat with a supersized cucumber in the pocket, and Chelsea, she would gladly tank your ratings. Jim Kimmel does not want to retire, but it might not be his decision. Salaries continue going up while ad revenue and ratings are going down. Disney is already struggling financially. They're trying to sell ESPN. They've laid off thousands of people. If I was running Disney, the first person I would have laid off would have been Jimmy Kimmel. But I will give him and these other embarrassing failures on Strikeforce 5. I will give them a little bit of credit here for one thing. All the proceeds, all the money generated from this podcast, it is being given to Hollywood writers who aren't being paid because of the strike, which is good. That is a very nice gesture. Now, even though some of these writers are identifiers, there are some normal people working in Hollywood. And even the identifiers need money. They have a lot of free time right now. I'm sure some of them are participating in the Butt Bongo Band. Preparation H is expensive. It ain't cheap, especially when you don't have any income. So good for Jimmy the Kimmel looking out for those people. But give me your thoughts. Jimmy Kimmel fakes a pretend retirement. He pretends he was contemplating retirement. I think it was a desperate cry for attention. What about you? Long term, is the platform of late night television sustainable? The New York Times, they published a report a while back claiming that broadcast networks were seriously thinking about getting out of the business of late night TV. 5 years from now, could late night be extinct? You let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.